Hello. So we are working on writing, and we're actually working on what I call character reactions and actions. So this is Sarah Torado's. Um, so she has a nice little dialogue here, and dialogue is really important because characters need to talk and they need to communicate with other characters. And so what we see here, I asked her if she wanted to go outside. Follow me, I had said. She looked confused but followed. Now notice what this, right? We have dialogue, and then we have a character reaction. She looked confused but followed. Right? We walked down the side of my house and jumped over the thin river. Soon we got to the woods. So now we have action. Here, I said as I passed her some mint leaves than I had planted the week before. So we can obviously see that she says here, she doesn't say here are some mint leaves, right? She just says here, right? And then without the dialogue, we get a description of what she is giving her. I have to go now, she said. Perhaps she might have added something like she said with a slight frown on her face, right? So we want to have facial expressions. We want to have reactions to things that people said. Um, so, for instance, what I am now looking at is what a lot of students do right when they do dialogue. How are you? I ask. Good. You? Well, I ate something for lunch. What did you eat? 3 bags of chips. Right? All of this is fine, um, except that it's kind of boring. It's a conversation, and we're getting somewhere with this conversation, but I can't see the characters. I don't really know where they are, what they're doing. Now, let's say even if I had said we're in a cafeteria or we're in a classroom, right? I actually don't know anything about the relationship between these characters, and so you do want to add um, actions and reactions. So I took a second and I added the dialogue that was previously there now has actions and reactions and internal thoughts, and we get much more of a story even with taking those few lines, right? How are you? I asked, rubbing my stomach. I clearly didn't feel well. Good. You? She looked at me as if it was some sort of Martian from another planet. So all of a sudden, when I add that line, right, I know how this character now feels towards the person she's talking to, right? I couldn't believe how awful I felt in front of Georgina Hines. Now, we of course now know that this is probably some sort of popular girl, right? But then this person's now embarrassed. So by adding these sort of reactions, internal thoughts, I get a lot more out of this dialogue without actually explicitly saying something. Well, I think I ate something for lunch. Oh God, did I just say that? How much worse could this go? Georgina looked at me with some sort of expectation. Clearly, she thought I was going to say more, and when I didn't, asked, right? Now, what does all of this do, right? This is important because it sets up how this conversation is going. This is an awkward conversation, right? Georgina is, expecting our protagonist to actually say something more than he is letting on. So this is now kind of awkward. And of course, she asked very politely, "What did you eat?" Without even thinking, "Oh man, I can never think when I feel sick. I just blurted out 3 bags of chips." Georgina's face scrunched back in shock and disgust, right? Now we get a little sense of a reaction. So as you're adding dialogue to your story, I would really encourage you to add 3 things: actions, verbs, right? Is your character, eating? Are they moving around the room, right? Characters are always doing something. I'm talking, and at the same time, I'm recording this video, right? I'm rubbing my face. I'm scratching my nose. So we are always constantly doing something. Have your characters do something. And then people are also reacting, right? If I say we have, 100 vocab words to do by tomorrow, right? You're going to react in shock. You're going to dock back, right? Your characters need to react to what people are saying, even if those reactions are subtle, right? And they don't have to react exactly to what the person is saying. Maybe they're having a conversation and Georgina looks over his shoulder at the teacher who's running the class or at some other person, right? So there are other people outside of this conversation or other things, right? Maybe they have difficulty having a conversation because of the lawnmowers. I don't know. But add in those other pieces. And finally, you can add internal thoughts, right? How is this conversation going? How is the person feeling? Let the reader know. So as you're writing dialogue, add in sort of the muscles and meats to the bones of the conversation.